Directed by Michael Bay, the Transformers franchise has made quite a dent in the history of pop culture and is certainly a household name at this stage, with characters such as Optimus Prime leading the benevolent Autobots to Megatron's evil army of Decepticons. This fictional universe is filled with a variety of Transformers, while some of them, such as the Constructicons and Dinobots, have made an appearance in the live-action universe. Other Transformer factions, like the Minicons, Sharkticons and Titans, have yet to appear on the big screen. Today we have curated a list of every single Transformer faction, so buckle up and get ready to explore their powers and backstory. Now, just before we go into the video though, we do have a small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, well, it means an awful lot. Thank you very much. Now let's begin. Autobots. Known as one of the two primary factions in the Cybertronian War, the Autobots were founded by Prima and were tasked with protecting humans from the Decepticons. Initially, the creators used bombs known as seeds to transform organic life into elemental metals, which eventually took the form of a godlike cube known as the Allspark. This cube then created the first 7 primes that laid down the foundation for Autobots, and these primes embarked on a journey across the universe to harvest distant suns and create energons. They were also determined to harness this energy without destroying any planets with life, but one of the primes eventually started hating humanity and decided to construct a star harvester to wipe out Earth. However, he could only activate the harvester with the help of the Matrix of Leadership, and soon enough he ran off with it and founded the Decepticons faction, while the remaining primes and Autobots chased after them. While the Fallen went on to earn a reputation as the mighty Megatron, the Autobots leader was eventually reincarnated as Optimus Prime. The Autobots also decided to stay back on Earth to protect humanity, and they often found themselves fighting against the Decepticons, who had not given up their mission to destroy Earth. Besides the Prima and Optimus Prime, Sentinel Prime also led the Autobots for a bit before he revealed his true colours as a traitor, and Rodimus Prime led them in an alternate timeline as well. These characters were capable of morphing into objects or vehicles, and they had a wide range of modes, like animal mode, beast mode, vehicle morphing mode, and so on. Decepticons. While we've shed some light on the establishment of the Decepticons, this faction of Cybertronians was founded by the Fallen, aka Megatronus Prime, before being revamped as Megatron. While the Autobots valued loyalty and went out of their way for their allies, the Decepticons showed no care for one another and were quite likely to betray each other for their own benefit. When Megatronus worked with the Autobots, he was convinced that their race, aka the Cybertronians, was far superior to humanity, and he then found other like-minded individuals, and together they formed the Decepticons. After they constructed a star harvester on Earth and fought against the Primes to defend their invention, Megatronus was eventually overpowered, and all the Primes took away his Matrix of Leadership and imprisoned him. However, they couldn't subdue him for long. His spirit eventually spoke to Megatron in the future and guided him to re-establish the Decepticons. At this point, Megatron had the entire Cybertronian military at his command, and paired with the power of the Allspark to guide him, he was virtually indestructible. In the 2007 Transformers, Bumblebee, Hot Rod and other Autobots dedicated their time towards locating Megatron and the Allspark, which then paved the way for the events of the overall film. Other famous Decepticons include Starscream, Blackout, Scorponok and Bone Crusher. And just like the Autobots, the Decepticons had superior bionic physiology and the ability to adapt to different Cybertronian senses, such as short-range radio wave transmissions, magnetic sensitivity, and electronic sensitivity. They could also morph into beasts, animals, objects, vehicles, and weapons, in addition to manipulating their size or regenerating in the face of destruction. Constructicons. Introduced as a team of Decepticons, the Constructicons primarily took the form of construction vehicles. While some of them were combiners, nearly all of this faction could merge to form larger beings, such as Devastator. They were often killed by Autobots, hunted down by Symmetry Wind and Lockdown, and the remaining Constructicons were even taken in by the TRF. These characters were notably recognized as the first combining subgroup of Transformers, possessing the ability to merge their bodies and minds to form gigantic transformers. A prime example of this is Devastator, who was created by merging 6 Constructicons: Bone Crusher, Scavenger, Mixmaster, Hook, Longhaul, Gravedigger and Hightower. Other Constructicons included excavators such as Demolisher and Scrap Metal and Truss Crane, which was formed by merging Hightower, Hook and other generic purple drones. In the IDW continuity, the Constructicons appeared in Tales of the Fallen comics, issues 3 and 4, where Bone Crusher's body type was introduced as one of the early construction drones that built the Star Harvesters. One of his lookalikes eventually joins the Decepticons, while he worked with the Constructicons, like Mixmaster, Rampage and Longhaul back on Earth. In Transformers: The Veiled Threat, Constructicons such as Kickback, Tread and Trample arrived on Earth in an attempt to revive Megatron by collecting enough uranium to jumpstart his spark. However, Nest soon detected their power signature and sent Optimus Prime to investigate. Kickback engaged the Autobot leader in battle and even gained the upper hand until Lennox intervened, firing a Sabot missile launcher at him. Dinobots. Known as a group of Autobot Transformers, the Dinobots were the 6th faction in the entire series, and they mainly appeared in Transformer Age of Extinction and Transformer The Last Night. They worked alongside Autobots and Nest during the battle in Chicago that took place in the Tyron 609.23px Kappa timeline. Dinobots were capable of dinomorphing, a process through which they could attain an alien bionic dinosaur physiology and even breathe fire. They also had access to a range of dino weapons, and some key Dinobots were Grimlock, Slug, Strafe and Scorn. Known as the leader of the Dinobots, Grimlock was an ancient warrior who could transform into a Tyrannosaurus Rex from Earth, and he mainly wielded weapons such as a spiked club or a spike ball. On the other hand, Slug could take the form of a Triceratops, and he mainly appeared in Transformers Age of Extinction. He bore a striking resemblance to a knight with a jousting helmet in his robot form, and he was known for only taking orders that revolved around Decepticons. Slug was best known for his stubborn nature, and he was also quite hot-headed, which made it very hard for other Transformers to reason with him. On the other hand, Strafe was quite a calm, gentle and friendly Dinobot, and he even extended his kind nature to human beings. His robot mode took the form of an Arthurian knight, and his Dinobot could transform into a 2-headed pterodactyl. Also known as Swoop, Strafe appeared in Transformers Age of Extinction, where he was mostly seen with weapons like crossbows and swords. Finally, Scorn, also known as Spike, could take the form of a multi-sailed Spinosaurus and had a reputation for being a demolitions expert. He was notably the most intelligent of the lot, and he was one of the few carnivore Dinobots besides Grimlock and Slash. In his robot mode, his tail transformed into a spear-ended whip for his right hand, while his head turned into a gauntlet that could be wielded by his left. Maximals. The Maximals were first introduced into the live-action Transformer series as a Cybertronian race that had its roots in a Cybertron colony called Jungle Planet. After the Unicron absorbed their homeworld and Scourge and the Terrorcons came together to kill most of their population, the surviving Maximals settled down on Earth. In the Primax universe, the Maximals had descended from the Autobots in an advanced future, where they had a long-standing rivalry with the Predacons that descended from the Decepticons. Just like their successors, the Maximals had Cybertronian physiology and the ability to perform techno-organic shapeshifting. In this way, they could morph into animals like reptiles like dinosaurs, arthropods such as insects, and aquatic animals like crustaceans and fishes. They could also take the shape of a vehicle and were known for their dedicated loyalty to Optimus Primal. Some of the most popular Maximals in the livestream series included their former leader, Apelink, their new leader, Optimus Primal, and other members like Rhinox, Airraiser and Cheetor. In the Primax continuity, we were introduced to some other members, such as Coladam Dinobot, Tigatron and Motorarm. Interestingly, Maximals were slated to appear in Transformers The Last Night, but they were cut out in the final rounds even after being introduced as part of the concept art. Terrorcons. Introduced as the main antagonists of Rise of the Beasts, Terrorcons were not aligned with the Autobots or Decepticons, but they surely stirred up a whole lot of trouble. These were the 4th faction to appear in the live-action continuity, and they appeared in serial order after the Autobots, Decepticons and Maximals, right before the Predacons. This faction was led by Scourge, and some of the most prominent Terrorcons were Nightbird, Battletrap, Freezer and Novocaine. Unfortunately, all of them were killed off by the end of the movie, but they certainly stirred up a lot of trouble and were known for their strength and durability. As their leader, Scourge especially began a whole lot of trouble in Transformers Rise of the Beasts, and even gained a reputation as the most fearsome trophy hunter in all the world. He was quite cunning and ruthless, and he commanded the Terrorcons with such a cruel aura that they had successfully executed several destructive missions on thousands of worlds. He strived to leave nothing but chaos in his wake, and he also had a collection of six-legged insectoids known as sweeps who would sniff out their prey in advance. Scourge could also telepathically communicate with Unicron, and had an electric claw, a double-sided sword called the Darkblade, ion cannons, and a welding machine at the end of his fingers. Triple Changers. In their quest to remain the greatest machines of war, the Decepticons took things a bit too far and developed a sect of warriors with two distinct modes. Also known as the Triple Changers, these warriors had the ability to travel by land and air in the midst of battle, and their most distinct feature was their ability to change form to confuse the enemy. To deal with this threat, the Autobots also decided to develop their own version of Triple Changers, and some of their most famous members were Drift, Backfire, Blazemaster, Sandstorm, Tailpipe, Thunderhead, Whirl, and Crosshairs. Appearing in Transformers Age of Extinction, Drift was a former Decepticon samurai who hoped to atone for his past crimes by joining the Autobots alongside Hound and Crosshairs. All the Triple Changers had unique features, and Backfire was known for mastering speed, and often using civilian traffic as a weapon against their opponent. In the same way, Blazemaster was known for transforming into a helicopter, and Crosshairs showed mastery over advanced weapons. In the same way, some popular Decepticon Triple Changers were Megatron, Astrotrain, Mixmaster, Shockwave, Blademaster, Dragstrip, and Icepick. There were many more Triple Changers on the Decepticon side, but a majority of them, including Laserbeak, Shatter, Dripkick, and Blitzwing, were killed by Bumblebee before they could do much harm. Transformer types that haven't appeared in any movies yet. Minicons. Introduced as a race of small, human-sized Transformers, Minicons were capable of power linking with other Transformers to boost their strength or share some abilities. While they have varying origins, Minicons are often credited with creating Unicron or the last Autobot in some continuities, while they merely just exist in others. They shared the same abilities as most other Cybertronians in addition to power linking, which helps them share their powers with other beings. They were valuable partners to many Cybertronian factions, and they were affiliated with religions like Unicron, the Last Autobot, or Optimus Prime. In the cartoon continuity of the Unicron trilogy, the Minicons were known as Unicron's offspring, and they were sent to Cybertron to stir up trouble during the ongoing Civil War. These power-enhancing characters ended up bonding with the population in order to create more chaos and destruction, so that Unicron could feed on all the extra negative psychic energy. After Unicron had access to sufficient power, the Minicons would betray their hosts and incapacitate them, while Unicron would raise to a higher power and devour the entire planet of Cybertron. In the Dreamwave comics continuity, the Minicons were introduced as a second race of Transformers that lived in designated sectors, and only came out after Megatron sent his Decepticons on raids. These creatures would then power links with Transformers to boost their powers, and they were sometimes even capable of harnessing energy from extra-dimensional sources. Through the process of power linking, Minicons could evolve other machines to a point where they could turn simple cars into jet-powered vehicles, or even upgrade Transformers to grow new weapons from their bodies. During this process, Autobots would call out evolution as their body parts would reconfigure to take the form of a new weapon that stayed with them even after the Minicon detached itself from their bodies. Junkions. Known as one of the Autobot tribes, the Junkions or Junkionians inhabited the planetoid of Junkion, even though they had originated from Cybertronians. They stood out especially due to their unique physiology, as they were made up of metals other than the rusted scraps of trash that were characteristic of Cybertronian physiology. They could not only withstand that would kill a regular Transformer, but they also had the ability to regenerate and heal from damage by using any piece of metal that was lying around them. On several occasions, Titans, Junkions had reconstructed themselves from piles of scrap metal within a minute, and they were fearless warriors who used ambush tactics to corner their opponents. They had reputations as expert mechanics, and a major chunk of their culture revolved around Earth broadcasting. They had childlike, naive personalities that often made them seem immature, but they were just curious beings who approached foreign life with great care. After striking up a friendship with humans, they became protective of them and even viewed them as a source of television. When Junkions came in touch with Autobots, they gained a reputation as the best scrap metal merchants around, and even some Decepticon characters relied on them for their services. Typically, the Junkions were content with trading energon for some scrap metals, and they didn't even care to investigate where they got the scrap from. Some known Junkions include Detritus, Nancy, Wreckgar, Junkyard and Scraphead, and they were known for having names that resembled scrap or trash in some way or another. Sharkticons. As the name describes, Sharkticons were shark-like Cybertronians with the ability to survive on land as well as in water. They had an acute sense of smell and typically thrived in high-viscosity fluid environments where they could swim around at top speeds. They were also carnivorous beings with sharp teeth that could kill someone in one bite, and they often fed on Cybertronians to satiate their hunger. Typically, the Sharkticons were affiliated with the Quintessons and Decepticons, and it's theorized that they first appeared after the Great Cataclysm. Many Sharkticons later emigrated or grew on Aquatron along with other aquatic transformers until the Quintessons took control of the planet, forcing the Sharkticons to work for them. While these creatures believed that a legendary warrior would free them from their oppression one day, many Sharkticons were brainwashed into serving Curator Inquirata, while others remained on Cybertron. Over time, the Quintessons sent the Sharkticons to defeat the Autobots of the Ark crew and the Decepticons of the Nemesis crew, which led to Megatron's decision to step forth as the legendary warrior destined to save them. In this way, these creatures spent the majority of their lifetime serving under the Quintessons on Aquatron and then found themselves under Megatron's rule. Titans. Also known as Megamasters or Metro Titans, Titans were subspecies of Cybertronians and were scattered across several Cybertronian colonies and space. They had a similar biology to their predecessors, with the exception that they were gigantic in size. In addition to this, they had the ability to transform into gigantic starships or cities, and they were potentially immortal beings. It was said that the Titans were more powerful than the strongest combiner out there, and they were capable of defeating an entire army's worth of firepower all at once. Some Titans, such as Fortress Maximus and Scorponok, had the same powers as Headmaster-type Bonded Masters, and they also had subspecies such as Elonian, LV-117, Camian, Carmian, Prion, Velocitronian, and Hydraton Titan. Cybertronian Titans were often described as living arsenals of fascinating weapons, and they could easily outmatch Cybertronians to a point where a Titan could only be defeated by another one of its kind. To ensure their safety, both Autobots and Decepticons embarked on a mission to recruit these mighty warriors to side with their factions, to ensure that they didn't suffer too much damage during their apocalyptic battles. Some known Autobot Titans were Metroplex, Fortress Maximus, Metro Base, Lodestar, Iaconus, and Citadel Secundus, while some Decepticon Titans included Tripticon, Scorponok, Black Serac, Metro Titan, and Tidal Wave. In addition to this, there were some miscellaneous Titans, like Nemesis, Croaton, Citadel, Cargo Hold, and the Dweller, and so on. Lugnut. While we've explored factions of Transformers so far, the last character on this list is a specific individual called Lugnut, who is known for doing Megatron's bidding. In fact, Lugnut was so dedicated to his master that should Megatron ask, he would jump. At the end of the day, Lugnut viewed Megatron as their bold, heroic protagonist, who embodied the Decepticon cause and was entirely devoted to him. While Lugnut's blind loyalty was commendable, it was also, of course, a weakness, as he had a hard time planning things on his own. He believed that Megatron was wise enough for the entire faction, and he often struggled on the battlefield, where he had to come up with innovative solutions off his own bat. However, he barely had to rack his brains in the fights against the Autobots, as his unparalleled strength and limitless missile payload made it quite easy for him to defeat most opponents in the blink of an eye. Marvellous verdict. And with that, we have explored every single Transformer faction in the universe, ranging from the popular Autobots and Decepticons to the lesser known Triple Changers and Junkions. We hope you enjoyed exploring their features, their origins, and do share your favourite picks out of the list in the comments down below. And of course, if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't done so already. Otherwise, have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.